Welcome to Hidden in History, where shadows still speak. Tonight, we enter one of the darkest corridors of the medieval world, a mystery unsolved for more than 500 years. Two boys, heirs to a kingdom, locked away in a fortress that was supposed to protect them, only to vanish without a trace. Were they murdered? Hidden, or simply erased from the chronicles of England's crown? This is the story of the princes in the tower, and the silence that still surrounds their fate. Stay with us until the end, because what begins as a tale of innocent children becomes a web of ambition, betrayal, and power struggles that shaped the English throne. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Hidden in History, because the past has many secrets. And here, the shadows still speak.
The year is 1483. England is weary from decades of bloodshed. The Wars of the Roses, where the rival houses of York and Lancaster tore the kingdom apart. On April 9th, King Edward IV dies suddenly. His eldest son, 12-year-old Edward, is proclaimed Edward V. His younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, just 9 years old, stands beside him. But a child cannot rule alone, and so enters their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, named Lord Protector, sworn to safeguard his nephews until Edward's coronation. The boys are escorted to the Tower of London. At the time, the Tower wasn't just a prison, it was also a royal residence, the place where kings prepared for their coronations. But for these two boys, the Tower would become a cage. Chroniclers describe them seen at first, playing in the gardens, waving from the battlements. Londoners gathered below, hoping to glimpse their young king. But then, appearances grew fewer, windows closed, the gardens went silent, and finally, the boys vanished. In June 1483, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, claimed that his nephews were illegitimate. Their father, Edward IV, he argued, had been unlawfully married. Parliament agreed, and so Richard seized the crown, crowned as Richard III. But the princes, Edward V and his brother, were still alive, still in the Tower. And then, no one saw them again. Rumors raced through London like wildfire. Some said the boys had been smothered in their sleep. Others claimed they were quietly drowned. Some whispered they had been spirited away to the countryside, hidden by loyalists. But the truth? Lost. Theories began to multiply, and fingers pointed in every direction. Richard III himself, painted by Shakespeare as the hunchbacked villain who murdered his nephews to secure his crown. Was it true? Or Tudor propaganda written decades later? Henry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, Richard's ally who suddenly turned against him. Did Buckingham act independently, killing the princes to strengthen his own claim? He was executed later that same year. Exercise Dore, later Henry VII, the greatest beneficiary. By defeating Richard III at Bosworth in 1485, he seized the crown. To secure his line, he married Elizabeth of York, sister of the missing princes. Convenient, perhaps, if the boys had already been removed. And so, the Tower of London, a fortress of stone and iron, became the stage for a disappearance that shook the realm. What evidence remains? Very little. Contemporary sources conflict. The chronicler Thomas More claimed the boys were smothered by pillows on Richard's orders. Others suggested poison or a dagger in the dark. But there was never a body. Not until 1674, when, during renovations to the tower,
workmen uncovered a wooden box buried beneath a staircase. Inside, 2 small skeletons. Were these the princes? Many believed so. King Charles II ordered them reburied in Westminster Abbey, where they still lie today. But requests to examine the remains with modern DNA testing have been denied. The truth rests sealed in stone, and yet the absence of certainty is what fuels the story. For every accusation against Richard III, there are defenders who point to Tudor propaganda, an effort to blacken Richard's name and justify Henry VII's claim to the throne. Was Richard a ruthless murderer, or the victim of one of history's greatest smear campaigns? The answer lies somewhere between shadow and silence.
What we do know is this: the disappearance of Edward V and his brother reshaped the monarchy. Richard III ruled for just 2 turbulent years before falling in battle at Bosworth Field, the last English king to die in combat. His defeat brought Henry VII to the throne and began the Tudor dynasty. Without the mystery of the princes, would Henry's claim have been so secure? Or was their disappearance the very foundation on which the Tudor line was built? One thing is certain. 2 boys were caught in the storm of dynastic ambition, and their fate became a silence that echoes through history. Two young heirs locked in the tower, a crown contested, and a silence that has lasted over 5 centuries. Were they murdered by their uncle, by a power-hungry duke, or erased by the man who built the Tudor Empire? We may never know, but in their disappearance lies one of history's most enduring riddles, where innocence collided with power, and the truth was buried with the crown. This was Hidden in History, where shadows still speak. Now tell us, what do you believe happened to the princes in the tower? Were they victims or survivors lost to time? Share your theory in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because history hides many more secrets, and some of them are waiting to be uncovered.